Hello, guys. This is a long-awaited collaboration. This is a reunion between me and James from Punchbox Boxing. How are you, Jamie? You good?
Yeah, I'm all good. Thanks, mate. Thanks for having me.
A lot has happened as usual. Boxing's moved on since the last chat. Got quite a few things to talk about. First things first, the big event this Saturday, Usyk Asia rematch. How do you think? I've got my own prediction. What's your thoughts on regarding this fight?
Yeah, I'm leaning more towards Usyk at the minute. I think we learned an awful lot in the first fight. I feel like there's a lot of focus on what AJ didn't do, and a lot of people feel like he didn't do it through his own choice. I think it's Usyk that made him unable to do the things that he wanted to do. A lot of people say that, he went in there and tried to box with Usyk, but I actually think the issue was that he didn't really try to do anything. He made some small adjustments in round 5 and 6 when he let his hands go a little bit more, but apart from that, really, Usyk dominated for the most part and showed more gears, more skill. He's got more experience when you just look back over both of their careers. Just think Usyk might be a step ahead at this stage.
Everybody says AJ needs to be aggressive and be physical and use his height, his strength to his advantage. Can AJ just? Can I understand that AJ only can beat Usyk by knockout? Is that the only way AJ Usyk can be beaten by knockout, or can AJ actually beat him on points if he uses a
I,
jab and height?
I think AJ can win on points personally. Reason being is the first fight, one judge gave it 7-5 to Usyk, and the fight was definitely wider than 7-5. If AJ gets off to a much better start this time, which I think he will, I actually think literally from the first 10 seconds last time, Usyk set the tone by landing that left hand. I do think this time Joshua probably won't get caught with that same shot and will start a little bit stronger. If Joshua just wins a couple more rounds and it only has to be one on one card and two on another, I actually think that he can make this closer. And I just feel like we saw in the last fight that the judges, if they can give anything close to Joshua, they will try to. And I feel
Okay.
like, if Joshua can just win a couple more rounds, I think that's what he's open for. A lot of people and Joshua and his team have said, they want the knockout, they want it inside 6 rounds, but I think they're trying to prepare for all scenarios. So yeah, I do think there is a case for Joshua winning this on
Yeah,
points.
so interesting. Everybody's saying because he's been superior boxing, the only way AJ wins is by knockout. So you actually think AJ
Mm.
can beat him on points?
Yeah, I do, because like just from the first fight, like Usyk beat him quite comfortably, and the judges, and I've seen people on Twitter as well, and even people in my own comment section that have said they only had it 7-5. But if that's the case, Joshua needs to be a little bit better, and he wins on this one. So the A side in these negotiations and these fights always get the rub of the green. If AJ can make it close, he will get the decision. So
Make it close. But is AJ is Usyk too much of a boxer, too skillful to make it close?
it depends. If he tries to box with him, tries to counterpunch with him, and tries to wait like he did last time, then he will get outboxed again. But if he just lets his hands go and tries to match Usyk, who says that he doesn't, land more of the eye-catching shots and maybe drags Usyk into the wrong type of fight potentially? I don't think he's got the engine to do it over 12 rounds, but I think people kind of ruling out AJ winning on points. It wouldn't shock me if he did. I think, I'd probably be even more surprised if AJ knocked him out, in all honesty, because there was no
I
hope
agree.
of him.
I agree. I
There
agree.
was there was no hope. There was no sign in the last fight that AJ was even close to really hurting or denting Usyk. He's got more to overcome there than he does on the points deficit that happened last time in a fight that he got schooled. So
I
yeah,
agree.
if AJ's
I
a little
think
bit better, just
yeah.
just wait and see.
I think Usyk's too skillful to for AJ to hit him clean. To be honest with
Yeah, I agree.
you. Yeah, I think AJ's just too skillful and box night is too high. Just AJ just to go out, guns and blazing.
Yeah, completely
In
agree.
terms of Usyk's weight gain, is going to be adjustment? What do you think? Is it just for power purposes? What do you think Usyk's gaining more weight for his rematch?
Uh, I think it's been overstated how big he'll be. Like, I think he'll be 5 or 6 pound heavier, which in the grand scheme of things isn't a massive weight sort of
Okay.
increase. Like, I know there are people saying that they expect him to be over 230. I'd be absolutely stunned if he's anything over 230. I'm pretty certain he'll be under that. So I don't think it's a massive increase. I do think that the slight increase shows that he's just been training harder, and his team have alluded to that the reason Usyk's a little bit bigger is because he's pushed himself even more in this camp. So Yeah, I think Usyk, the added weight is just to add a bit more meat to those shots because he was very close to getting AJ out of there last time. I think this time he goes in there with the intention of making sure it happens.
If AJ loses, what does he do from now? Does he go for White? Does he go for Wilder? What's AJ's plan? I
The
don't
thing
think he
is,
retires, even if he loses. It's despite what people say, John Nelson said he will retire. I don't think he'll retire. I think he will just work his way back into contention because it's cash cow, AJ. So there's still money fights out there for him.
the thing is, AJ is still the biggest commercial commodity in boxing, in British boxing. That is, there's still going to be opportunities for him. And if you just ask the casual audience, what heavyweight fights do you want to see next? You're going to get two answers. The purists will tell you they want to see, if Usyk wins, they'll want to see Usyk versus Fury. But the
Yeah,
casual, despite what happens this weekend, whether it's a win or loss for AJ, will tell you, we want to see AJ Wilder and we want to see AJ versus Fury. And
yeah.
that's the casual market, which is the bigger market that, the promoters ultimately are trying to reach. AJ has still got the two biggest fights in the division available to him. Usyk Fury, for us hardcore fans like yourself and me, want to see that fight because it's undisputed. It's the two best heavyweights on the planet. But we all know that the casual stood in a pub or looking to buy tickets to go to an arena in this country or fly over to the States, they want to see AJ versus Fury or AJ versus Wilder. So the fact is, AJ is going to be relevant, win, lose, or draw this weekend, in my opinion. And even away from those two, Dillian White is still a name that if you put AJ in with, it's a big fight. Joseph Parker, it would still be a big name
Yeah,
for Anthony
yeah,
Joshua
Daniel
to get.
Dubois, George Joyce. Yeah,
Daniel Dubois, Joe Joyce, like the list goes on. So I think it's been a little bit overstated, kind of what AJ can offer
yeah.
if he does lose this fight.
AJ is like like a big bank. It's too big to fail.
Yeah,
That's why I see AJ is too big to fail. Even if he loses,
100%.
there's still money to be made. Um, what's your take on I am not. This, in my opinion, even though this is a big fight, this fight, in my opinion, has been poorly promoted. I thought it'd be promotion. It just means this guy being better against, Eddie Hearn, leaving on bad terms and the beef between Hearn and Adam Smith. What do you think the whole promotion being last minute? There's not being promoted compared to Joshua Klitschko and Parker. Because usually this guy pumps like very good at marketing the fights, especially AJ. These fights has been everything's been last minute, everything's been rushed, and is it because of politics, because of what's going on between Sky and Eddie Hearn? Or what's your take on the whole promotion of the fight?
Yeah, I think it's a bit of everything, to be honest. I definitely feel like the sort of rivalry that's been created between Hearn and Sky and Boxer now is obviously playing a part. But also, if you think of, when we actually got the announcement that Sky would be broadcasting this
Yes,
fight, it was very late in the day. And I think the issue is, I mean, Alexander Usyk's entire camp has been out in Dubai. Joshua's been in Saudi for the past 4 or 5 weeks. By the time they actually got the rights, if they wanted to do any behind the scenes content, if they wanted to do those kind of in the camp documentaries that they like to do, it's a real sort of mess to try and get those things done. To go over to Saudi to film with Joshua, Dubai to film with Usyk. So I just feel like it's probably too late in the day for them to ever really get a good run at things. So I do agree that it's been poorly promoted, and I just feel like, for Sky, they'll say that, Joshua's not with us anymore. Why would we promote him? The reason you promote him is because you paid an awful lot for the rights to host this fight, and you want to recoup as much of that as you can. So yeah, I agree with you that it's been
was
poorly
it
promoted.
this bid thing? What was it? The Saudi's choice was it to be in Sky, or was it purely because Sky put the most money in? Because I thought Zone having billions at disposal, they'll actually put this fight as a launch fight for AJ's, partnership.
Yeah, I think DAZN. Listen, Sky ended up paying close to 30 million for the rights. Apparently, I don't think DAZN were willing to do that just yet. Um, I think DAZN are kind of looking at other things that they can do to build the pay-per-view model. Obviously, we've seen Eubank Benn's been announced. I also think, they've signed AJ down to this lucrative deal that sees AJ on DAZN for however many fights. I think their priority was, look, let's not overpay for this one. Let's overpay to get Joshua for the future because there's still big fights ahead for him. So yeah, I think DAZN just kind of didn't want to spend that kind of money.
Okay, okay. Speaking on pay per view, you back Ben. I'm not surprised it's happening, but I'm surprised it's under the zone and not Sky. Because I thought it wasn't Eubank and Wasserman with Sky. We're not gonna deal with Sky.
No, so they had like a broadcast deal to fight on Sky, but I don't think it makes him exclusive to fight on Sky necessarily. So I think they're able to, Sauerland don't have a Sky deal necessarily. They have a deal with Channel 5, but Eubank does have a bit of
Why wouldn't Sky
freedom.
Wasserman put the fight on Sky? Being the fight, arguably the biggest fight of the year. Argue between that and this, and then definitely Britain, either this or Usyk at AJ rematch. Why wouldn't Sky put a bid on or convince Wasserman and to put this fight in Sky? I wonder.
Well, because it's Conor Benn was obviously signed to Eddie Hearn and fights on DAZN. I don't think Eddie would have let Conor Benn go over there
Oh
for
yeah,
any amount of
yeah.
money.
Yeah, too
And
big
this
a fight to have on Sky, I guess. Yeah,
and this
because
fight
Eddie
is
Hearn's already lost against him. He's already got this fight, already got his his cash cow on fighting on Sky again. So this will be a double whammy for his arguably second biggest cash cow to fight on Sky again.
yeah.
So I could see it, but in terms this fight, does it all depend on if Eubank can make 157 comfortably? Is it really Eubank's fight to lose, or does Ben have a chance?
Yeah, I think Ben has a chance because of the weight. Like, there's no telling really what's going to kind of happen with Eubank because it's not so much him making 157, it's the rehydration afterwards.
Yeah,
If he is really restricted on that, then I mean, he is going to walk into the ring a lot less healthy than Conor Benn is going to be able to walk into the ring. And I think, with Eubank, don't get me wrong, I think he should be the big favourite if things were on a level playing field. But if you kind of narrow the margins like they have done with the weight and the rehydration, and then you just look at the ability of Eubank and the ability of Benn, the gap's not massive. Like Eubank isn't an elite world level operator. He may not even be a world level operator. Every time he's stepped up to world level, he's lost or he's struggled against a
yeah.
fringe
His best
guy.
opponents have been past James DeGale, past Abraham. They've all been past the prime fighters. No, he hasn't got anyone decent in the prime.
Yeah, and Conor Benn, Conor Benn, the one thing you can guarantee with him is that he's going to be busy and let his hands go. And that wins rounds ultimately against someone that doesn't necessarily do that anymore. Eubank doesn't just rely on his athleticism like he used to. I mean, the old Eubank, who was probably less skilled than the Eubank of now,
Yeah,
I think would have wiped the floor with Conor Benn because he's just a bigger, stronger athlete with a better chin. He lets his hands go, he punches
yeah,
harder, more
pressure fighter.
naturally. Whereas now he wants to box, he wants to try and use everything Roy Jones has taught him, and it doesn't particularly work. So
Yeah,
I think
definitely. Williams was quite messy. He won it easily. It was quite messy. He should have really stopped Williams. Really.
100 should have stopped him. There should have been no excuse really. But
This fight being in the zone, does it? He does well. Does he do well on pay-per-view buys? You know, because the zone's an untested platform, and again, a lot of people, the casuals don't really know what the zone is.
yeah, I'm not sure how well it will do. Like Eddie Hearn is convinced it's the biggest fight he's done in this country.
No, it's
The
not.
thing,
No, it's
the
not.
thing, the thing that's interesting with the zone is with a Sky pay-per-view or even a BT pay-per-view, regardless of boxing, whatever event it is, if you have to pay for it, it's very easily accessible when you load up your Sky box or
Yeah,
your
that red
Virgin
button and
box
the
or whatever.
remote.
Yeah, it's there. DAZN, how is it going to work with an app? Because, a lot of people complain about DAZN is the fact that if they don't have a smart TV, they can't watch it on the TV. They've got to watch it on a tablet or a mobile device or a laptop or whatever. I mean, how's that going to work?
Yeah,
They've still
how do
got
you
to
get the pub
overcome.
goers? Because I don't think many pubs have smart TVs as
Well,
well.
that's what I was just about to say. Like they said that Eddie Hearn is currently working to make sure this fight is available in the pubs. I mean, that's not even a thing at the minute, so that's an obstacle
Yeah,
they've got to
I've been to many
overcome.
pubs, and a lot of them. I've never met one that's had the zone.
Yeah,
Every pub I've been to, they've got Sky, they've got BT, but not the zone.
yeah, yeah, exactly. So that's an obstacle to overcome.
And what do you think of comments for what's his name? Is it Dev Sani, Frank Warren's head of media, saying this fight does as many, maybe more than Joyce Parker? What do you think of those comments?
Rubbish comments that come from someone that works for BT and Frank Warren. There is no way
I've
on
got a feeling
earth.
that fight will flow actually. Parker Joyce. I don't think he does well on pay-per-view at all.
No, I'll be like I think of in America when they put on a fight like Andy Ruiz versus Chris Arreola or Luis Ortiz versus Charles Martin, and we look at the pay-per-view numbers and like they're less
Yeah,
than
being like
50K
60,
or whatever.
$60, $80. That's been way overpriced.
And they only do like 50K buys on it. I would genuinely be shocked if Joseph Parker versus Joe Joyce does over 100K buys. I would be shocked because no casual really knows who Joe Joyce
And then the
is.
size might be 25 quid, I heard in BT. At least 20 quid I've
Exactly.
heard that, which is too much. Maybe 15, maybe you can get away with it, or maybe
But
even 12 quid, but not anything more than 15 is too much.
the thing is, they'll be paying Joe Joyce and Joseph Parker in excess of $1 million for this fight. So there's no way Frank is
You can
recouping
afford
his
it to be a
money.
normal subscription, yeah.
Yeah, there's no way he recoups his money on this. This is going to flop massively. It's a good fight. I like the fight, but
Would have done well on Sky Sports, though, if it was on Sky.
it'd do better. But I still don't think the two names that are in the main event just ultimately aren't big enough names to drive pay-per-views. No one really cares about Joseph Parker unless he's in with AJ or someone like that with Dillian White. No
Yeah.
one really cares about Joe Joyce yet. I think people will if he keeps winning. But at the minute, no one's particularly interested in him because in this country, we've had Fury, AJ, White, Chisora, who are all bigger names than Joe Joyce. So, yeah, I think it flops. It totally flops, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely. Are you going to pay to see it? Are you
I
being
will because
hardcore?
I'm a fight fan, so I will pay to tune in to watch it. But I mean, it's not about us hardcores that watch it; it's about the casuals that watch it, and I don't think the casuals care at all. Honestly, if a group of lads walked into a pub and on the TV screen the fight was showing, I don't think anyone would sit around and watch it. I think it would just be on in the background.
Yeah,
It's not that
definitely.
type of fight.
Yeah, definitely a hardcore fight, not for the casuals.
Mm.
Well, how do you see that fight going?
Leaning slightly more towards Joseph Parker at the minute, but I think Joe Joyce, if he can get going nice and early, will win the fight. It's just how long Parker can probably delay him because when Joyce finds a rhythm early, he does like kind of go through the gears. But it's just whether Parker, under Andy Lee's been a very tricky
Okay.
mover, and he does have a bit of an awkward style. So I I don't think it's going to be a particularly exciting fight. I've said that before. I think it's a
Yeah.
good matchup on paper because it's two top 10 heavyweights. But I think in terms of the actual excitement levels, Joyce can be messy. Parker can make fights messy. And I don't think that necessarily gels for a good fight.
I think this, based on the fight both having good chins. I think this fight ends in points. I don't think this fight ends in knockout. I feel I think it ends in
100%.
points.
Yeah, they're both too durable for this to go to a knockout, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm leaning towards Joyce. I just think Joyce has got more to give than
Yeah,
Parker.
potentially.
Yeah, even though Joyce is much older fight. I think Joyce is 36, 37. He
Yeah,
will
he's
be.
older.
Yeah, but I just think maybe Joyce has got more to give and potentially the better fight as well. I know he's early doors still, but I think maybe Joyce has got more potential than Parker.
Also on a BT show, which is his promoter's show. So anything close, you think maybe he'll get the rub of the green. So
Because I can't see Parker beat any elite fighters apart from maybe White. He doesn't beat AJ. I don't think
no,
he can. You can't obviously Fury and Usyk would just make him look silly.
yeah, I don't see him. I don't think either of these guys really are going a particularly long way. I feel like this is their ceiling, but
Okay, it was a good fight for the hardcores, but unfortunately, the casual, unfortunately, is two unknown casual, fighters that find it's hardcores, fan fest.
mhm.
Spence Crawford, does it happen? And yeah, yes or no? Is it just rumor?
I think it happens. The reason being is we're now in August, and I feel like if it wasn't going to happen, we'd have known by now that it wasn't. I feel like we would hear
Okay,
more rumors of Spence taking on a different fight, Crawford taking on a different fight. The fact that both of them have got no other opponent lined up yet, both of them are still in the negotiations. And from everything we're hearing out of America, the negotiations are going quite well. From
yeah,
everything I've heard from people, is that basically they're just trying to offer Crawford what he wants at the minute. The Spence side of the deal is basically done because he's already with PBC. But for Crawford, it's about, they want to tie him down to fights after this as well. So they're trying to offer him free fight deals. There's been some numbers floating around 12 million, 14 million, and apparently he's rejected those. So I think they're just trying to hit the sweet number that Crawford wants. But I feel like it's gone on too long now for it to have not happened. I feel like we would know by now if it wasn't happening.
Um, I do think this fight happened mainly because I don't think there's any options at the moment for either fighter. Because Spence, where's apart from Keith Thurman, maybe, but apart from the 145 is just I think Charles fighting is it Tim Zoo next
Hmm.
year, I think, from Disputed. And Crawford again, there's no other options again in terms of welterweight, apart from maybe Roger Ortiz or Rashid Edis, but again, there's not many fights. The biggest fight commercially for either fight is each other, basically, in my opinion, at the moment.
Yeah. Yeah, it's always been a division where you've had, Sean Porter, Danny Garcia, Keith Thurman. Those guys just aren't really there anymore. So
No.
in terms of the actual opponents that they can take on, there's not a great deal that's kind of left for either of them, unless they take on some dangerous mandatories, which they probably win at this point in time, but they're not nice fights to take on. Like
Yeah, I think that's the
Crawford,
money. Yeah, so Roger Ortiz and what's the guy Roger Ortiz and
Luke Ennis is the other one
yeah,
that's,
that's the other one. Those two are again, a high risk, low reward.
yeah, scary.
Did this fight do well commercially?
Not particularly. I think it does well. It does decent, but it's not a particularly
Yeah, I
commercially
think
attractive
maybe
fight.
not maximum, maybe 400,000 buys, and max maybe 500,000 if a good push.
I think at a good push, it touches 500,000, but it's not particularly casual friendly fight. Over here, there's not many people outside of hardcore fans that would care about it, and even in America, boxing just isn't the NFL, the NBA. So yeah, I don't think it's huge commercially.
Yeah, to be honest with you, I think Ryan Garcia against Tank Davis would do more buys commercially if they ever fight than Spence Crawford.
Yeah, it's a massive fight that people don't realize how big of a fight that is. I was reading the other day that apparently in Japan that Ryan Garcia is like more popular than Inoue currently in Japan or something like
Really?
that. So
Wow. Maybe it's got that girl audience Instagram followers is
yeah,
dedicated.
so yeah, Tank Davis versus Ryan Garcia is huge.
I agree the biggest fight in American boxing that definitely that could be made.
Yeah,
In terms of what Fury's retirement, what's she taking it? I believe is BS. Fury is obviously bipolar and is smoking mirrors. What are you taking his recent retirement on his 34th birthday last Friday? Did he only come out of retirement if AJ wins, or is there a chance he might fight Usyk?
I don't think he wants the Usyk fight personally. He said many times that that's the worst sort of style for him. A lot of people feel like because he's vacated the Ring Magazine belt that legitimizes his retirement, but really and truly for me it doesn't, because you know it breaks the record of Muhammad Ali to win it 3 times, the Ring Magazine belt, and I feel like Fury is quite egotistical and maybe has set his sights on that. The WBC have allowed him a week after AJ Usyk for him to decide whether he's vacating or not. I mean, if they were serious about vacating him and Fury was serious about his retirement, he would have just vacated it. The fact that they've said, no, you can wait till AJ versus Usyk is done and then decide, basically means I'm not retired unless AJ wins, and then I'll stick around and fight him. Otherwise, I'll probably retire. So
So you don't think, in fact, Usyk from just for the pride, just to join that lead of Lewis and Tyson being undisputed heavyweight champion?
I don't think he wants that fight. It's not an easy fight.
Is it not a commercially viable fight if undisputed?
Commercially it
Well,
is,
obviously not
but
big as AJ. Obviously, not no one is big as AJ, but it's still like a Wembley Stadium fight. You can do
no,
big
I
numbers.
don't think it is a Wembley Stadium fight. I think if this fight was to happen, they'd have to go back to Saudi Arabia for it. I think that's the only place you're getting the
Okay,
money
you
that.
don't, you don't think he does Dylan White numbers? He does do 90,000 at Wembley. Him and Usyk
No, no way. No, doesn't do Wembley.
at the
Fury
most
versus
O2
Usyk.
possibly at the most O2.
I could do, yeah, the O2's quite considerably smaller, but yeah, like they'd go to Saudi, they tend to fund the big heavyweight fights, and I feel like Usyk versus Fury, if it does happen, it will 100%, in my opinion, be in Saudi.
Because the rumors that Bob Howard said that they actually negotiate against Usyk's promoter to have it in December if Usyk beats
Yeah,
AJ. I hope you've heard that rumors.
yeah,
I do agree that 100%. We all agree if AJ knocks out Usyk or beats him, undisputed happening at the end of the year. 100% undisputed
yeah,
Wembley.
yeah. I think so too.
Yeah, arguably the biggest fight in British boxing.
Yeah.
And I definitely think that Fury sees AJ as much easier fighter than Usyk, less
Hmm.
skillful fighter,
Yeah.
and definitely, and yeah, it's just too big a fight to turn now. In fact, AJ, 100%. In terms of next four fights, in terms of fights you're excited about, there's AJ Usyk, there's Croatia Shields Marshall, but Eubank Benn. Which fight are you looking forward to the most? Parker Joyce, because September is quite a big, a month for boxing. Every
Yeah, it's
weekend there's a big fight going on.
busy month. Really looking forward to Shields versus Marshall. I think it's a great clash of styles. I think it's the best fight in women's boxing. So I'm really looking forward to that. On the undercard as well, obviously, you've got Michaela Meyer versus Baumgardner, which again is a great clash of styles that I'm really looking forward to. And I'm a big fan of both of them. So I kind of, yeah, really don't want to see either of them lose in that fight, but I'm looking forward to that one. Later in the month, I feel like it's going really under the radar because people are just assuming it's going to be one-sided. But I still think Canelo versus Golovkin is going to be another classic. I really do. The first two were classics, and you just find in boxing sometimes two fighters were made for each other. I've said this a lot on my channel recently. This fight reminds me of Juan Manuel Marquez versus Manny Pacquiao, the third fight. At the time of the third fight, a lot of people really didn't want to see it at that point because Manny had been on an unbelievable run. Marquez
Yeah.
had been on a bit of an up and down run. He
You
had
knocked
some
that
good
Cotto,
wins.
Hatton, Margarito was absolutely on fire at
Yeah,
the time.
and Marquez during that time had lost to Mayweather, had some wins in and around it as well, but didn't necessarily look the greatest. And he was coming up to welterweight, and no one was really a fan of Marquez at welterweight. Everyone felt he was too small. The Golovkin's moving up in this fight like Marquez did for that
Yeah,
fight.
the weight game might help Glock because I think Glock should have moved up to middleweight a couple of years ago. I just think he looks exhausted at middleweight.
Yeah. He struggles to take shots to the body at 160 because he's so drained now. I feel like a lot of people see that as a concern, but I think if you're adding 8 pounds on fight on the weigh in, and then obviously you can replenish afterwards as well. I feel like he's going to be much fitter. I
Yeah,
feel like
I think so.
once he shakes off that early rust, like he did against Murata, once he got in full flow, he looked excellent. And the one thing is with Canelo, you saw it in the Bivol fight. If you make him work hard, he doesn't have the engine to necessarily always let his hands go. And we saw that in the first two fights, that Golovkin's jab and the tempo he fights at is uncomfortable for Canelo. So I think we get another classic personally.
Do you believe the only way Glock can beat Canelo is stops him? You don't think he can outbox Canelo?
Well, he's outboxed him before, but I do feel like Canelo's improved massively. We've also seen that Golovkin can beat Canelo reasonably well and not get a decision. I feel like it's past that point now. He'd have to win every round to get a decision against Canelo at this point. So yeah, I think he'd have to lay him out. But these guys have both got incredible chins, so I don't see anyone getting knocked out.
Absolutely, absolutely. So which fight are you looking forward to the most?
Um, I'll
Two
say
months.
Shields Marshall. I think Shields Marshall, just because, like I said, we've seen Canelo Golovkin before, and although I think it's going to be excellent, we've seen it. Shields versus Marshall. It's literally whoever gets the game plan right because it's very different game plans. Marshall just has to land. Shields has to be perfect and not get caught. So really interesting fight, that one, and a good bit of needle going into it as well.
Okay, definitely, definitely. Um, I've got this feeling that Marshall will knock out Shields. Shields is the better boxer. It's gonna be want to have a fight. I just got a feeling Shields will knock her out late rounds. I've got a
Yeah,
feeling.
I'm really interested. I feel like it's a very similar fight to Taylor versus Serrano. Taylor and Shields, I can see some similarities off the back foot. Both box a bit like an amateur, whereas Serrano on the front foot, Marshall, I imagine, will be on the front foot as well. The difference is when Serrano hurt Taylor, Taylor is naturally bigger and has a really good chin. Shields doesn't have a great chin, and Marshall is big. She's the bigger girl here, so yeah, I do worry that Shields could be perfect for 4 rounds, then get caught once and it could be
This
over.
is a
So
classic tale of boxer versus puncher.
yeah, 100%. I mean, Marshall can box, don't get me wrong. She's a very good boxer, but Shields is a better boxer than she is. But yeah, God, it's such a good fight. It's just one of those where just pick which style you like and whoever comes out on top comes out on top.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I'm just thinking now, so many good fights. Yeah, Shields Marshall probably, and Conor Ben Eubank. That's those two fights I look forward to the most.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to Benn Eubank, but again, it's one of those where I don't think either of them are necessarily going on to a great deal afterwards. So I'll just take it for what it is, I think.
Any plans to see any of the fights live? I'm trying to get tickets to Ben Eubank. They're quite expensive, about 175 on is it Ticketmaster or one of the sites I've seen. 175 a ticket. I'll see how it go. I'm planning to go. What yourself? You planning to go on any of these upcoming events?
Not really any of the upcoming ones. I don't think I'm sort of getting to. I went on a run earlier this year where obviously I was out in Vegas for Canelo Bivol, Boatsy versus Richard. So I did a sort of little run of going to sort of live events. But there's some big fights at the end of the year that I actually want to cover on the channel and do some live content around. So I think I'll save those.
Okay, definitely, absolutely. Definitely got a good move for boxing. Definitely, I hope AJ wins, but I got a feeling Usyk beats him on point. That's my gut feeling. My heart's
Yeah.
AJ, my mind's is Usyk.
I
Um,
like both of them, but I like Usyk more. So
you've been a Brit, you support Usyk. Okay.
yeah.
Anyways, I commend Usyk. He's done it. He's a hero. Arguably, allowing his country to watch his fight for free. By no rights,
Hmm.
deserves a lot of credit in the world. And
Yeah.
either way, he's arguably one of the best fighters the last 20 years. Up there with
Oh,
Robert
100%. He's
Mayweather.
an all-time great already. He's a
Second
great.
beats by undisputed cruiserweight champion, unified heavyweight champion, and definitely, and all the best for the people in Ukraine. I wish all the best, and it does his country proud.
100%.
Anything you want to see? Any upcoming news? You want to see the fans? Anything else, Jamie? You want to any plans?
Oh, all good. Yeah, I'm just waiting for some sort of announcements really for October, November, December now. I feel like when you get to the August, you're kind of just waiting now for DAZN and Showtime to drop their schedules.
Are
And
you a
I
pub
think
goer? Have you got to watch in pubs? You make so you could watch at home.
no, I hate watching boxing in pubs. Just yeah, I can't. I feel like it's hard to keep full attention on it, and
Yeah, with
you
the
got
noise
people,
and
you got
yes,
people around you pretending they know what they're watching as well, and yeah, so I'm very much someone that likes to watch boxing in my own company. So
you could do your live commentary and reaction. You can analyze it, fully and give you a good
exactly.
perspective by watching it definitely live. Are you paying? No, actually, I won't say that. I'm not saying you're gonna pay for it. Actually, I don't want to snitch on you. One of the guy don't pay for the boxing, but we assume you pay for it. We just assume.
Yeah.
Anyways, yeah, definitely. So your prediction? So you 6 points or by stoppage?
I think Usyk stops in between 10 and 12. I think AJ's going to put a hell of a lot more into the early rounds and have success, but at a cost. I think he's going to tire by sort of rounds 5 and 6. And I think Usyk this time a little bit heavier is going to jump on him, but not just dictate the fight like he did last time. I think we're going to see him jump on him like he did in round 12, and he's gonna put it on him. And I don't think AJ. We've seen AJ go down in the past, but we've never seen AJ like hurt badly. Like he was hurt against Ruiz, but he was up. He was up. He got up each time. Against Klitschko, he got up. Against White when he was hurt, he recovered quite quickly. I feel like Usyk will continuously hurt
Yeah,
him, and the
yeah. AJ looked
referee,
confused. He looked.
yeah, the referee will have to jump in and stop it. But I don't think AJ gets knocked out cold or laid out on the canvas like Bellew did. But I think AJ will get stopped just out of exhaustion.
The main reason I thought AJ would beat Usyk the first time is the way that Usyk fought Chisora, because I believe Chisora put a better fight than AJ. Do you think the reason why Chisora Usyk fight was actually closer because maybe Usyk didn't wasn't prepared for Chisora, the ring rust because he was doing lockdown? What do you think that fight was? Is it the fighting styles of Chisora? Why do you think that fight was more closer than Usyk than he waiting for AJ?
It depends who you speak to because I gave Chisora 2 rounds against Usyk. I thought the first 2 rounds he ran at him, he made it uncomfortable, and then Usyk literally cruised for the rest of it in second gear. Whereas I feel like against AJ won 3 rounds on my card. I thought he won the second round. I thought he won rounds 5 and 6. He actually made some adjustments in round 5 and 6, but Usyk made even more adjustments. So yeah, I actually had AJ, and I've said this before, the most I've ever been impressed with AJ is in 2 fights was Povetkin when he made adjustments and
Yeah.
against Usyk when he made adjustments. he's had better all-round performances in terms of, he's dominated fights, he's won by
You got
knockout.
pressed by Pulev match.
Again, that was one where he hurt Pulev early, tired for 3 or 4 rounds, and then got his energy back and went again. And that was very much the old AJ.
You could have
Whereas,
stopped Pulev early if he had better stamina.
yeah. So yeah, I've always thought the Chisora fight was very overstated what actually happened in it. Chisora ran at Usyk for 2 rounds. Usyk didn't throw much, just kept moving, tire him out, keep him moving. And then from 3 to 12, Usyk didn't drop around, and he hurt Chisora as well late on in the fight. So yeah, I thought AJ did better.
Yeah, obviously Tony Bell was beating Usyk before the stoppage. What do you think of that hot take?
No. Bellew didn't land anything. Bellew was just stalling the inevitable. He was just throwing, and he made it look like Usyk was tentative, but Usyk was just draining him round by round. And Usyk just was always in control of the fight. Usyk always knew that at some point here, you're going to tire and I'm going to start getting closer and landing on you. So yeah, I think some people don't acknowledge Usyk's round management and the way he dictates the tempo of fights. Usyk paces himself really well, and sometimes people assume that the other fighters forcing him to do that. No, Usyk does everything on his own terms. We've seen that in all of his top fights. So, yeah, I think Usyk, Chisora wasn't close. I think he was beating Bellew, and then he ultimately knocked him out. So,
okay. Well, last question: if AJ beats Usyk and we get Fury, AJ Wembley, how much you paying for your ticket? What's your budget? You pay $1,000, $2,000 for a ticket.
you probably asked.
And you've been love a boxer. You can see the fight live. Is it one of those fights you have to see live? You got to tell your kids, grandkids that I was there live.
I don't know. See, like Fury versus AJ is a massive fight, but I don't think it's the best fight in the division.
I do. I think AJ beats. I think Fury beats AJ easily.
But I would rather pay. I would pay to go and see live. I would pay more money to see AJ versus Wilder live than I would AJ versus Fury, because
it's more predictable.
But I'm going to see someone get absolutely annihilated. So AJ's going to knock Wilder out, or Wilder's going to knock AJ out. I think Fury versus AJ isn't. It's just because they're two British heavyweights. Like, if there were just those two matchups, if it was just their styles on paper, would take away all the context. I don't think people would be gagging for it. So I'd be watching from home.
AJ Wilder, you're paying $1,000 a ticket because the ticket would be spicy.
I'd pay a lot. I'd fly it if it was in Vegas. I'd fly it to Vegas for it. I think it's an excellent fight.
Okay, you can pay my ticket as well. I'll pay half of it. anyways, guys, that's my questions answered. And any questions you got? I'm all good now. That's all. We shall see. It's gonna be a good fight, though. Well, yeah. I don't know. A good fight. It's gonna be decisive either way. I just think Usyk is too good for AJ. I pray miracles happen in boxing, but with these elite fighters, they rarely lose these Usyk wars, Mayweather's rarely lose. Really
exactly.
Lose. Anyways, Jamie. I'm good now. You now take it to your buddy. I definitely will see you on Saturday, and hopefully we'll see what happens.
Cool. Thanks for having me, mate.
Take care, guys. Till next time, Jamie.
Bye.
Adios, amigos.